Mary's voice trailed as she dropped to her knees beside her mother, the excitement in her breath tangled with fear, confusion, and something new, hope. "Then Marcus," she started, but the name alone felt like a striking bell inside the small, quiet room. Clara froze. Her lips parted just slightly, her eyes widening, not in curiosity, but in shock so sharp it looked like pain. The blanket slipped from her weak fingers. Her breathing changed. It was no longer just the cough-worn breath of sickness. This was something deeper, older, like a wound reopening. "Mary," Clara whispered, her voice faint, cracking. "What did you say?" Mary swallowed. "Marcus, Mom. The man who bought my oranges. He had your picture. Picture of you when you were younger. You were smiling in it. And he said," Mary hesitated, the room suddenly heavy. "He said he knows you. And that he has been looking for you for 10 years. Clara's hand flew to her mouth. A sound slipped out, soft, broken, like the whimper of something that had been aching for far too long. For a moment, it felt like the room itself was holding its breath. The world outside continued, cars passing, a baby crying down the hallway, the drip of a leaking pipe, but inside room 12 time thickened. Mary watched her mother closely. Clara had always been strong, even in sickness, even in hunger, even when hiding tears at night. But now she looked small, fragile, like one touch might undo her. "Mom," Mary whispered. "He asked to see you." Clara slowly lowered her hand. Her eyes glistened, not with the dull sadness Mary had grown used to, but with something burning, bright, alive. "No," Clara whispered. But it was not a firm no. More like a terrified one. "No, no, no, no." She tried to stand, too fast. Her legs buckled. "Mom?" Mary grabbed her. Clara clung to her daughter like she was the only thing keeping her from falling apart. "Mary," she breathed. "Listen to me. You must never go back to that house. Do you understand? Never." Mary blinked. The words hit her like cold water. "But, Mom, he was kind. He bought all my oranges. He gave us money. He said your name with love." Clara flinched. Actually flinched. Well, her fingers trembled against Mary's shoulders. Mary had never seen her mother look so afraid. "Mom," Mary whispered, "who is he?" Clara closed her eyes. And there it was, the thing Mary had glimpsed for years but never understood. A heartbreak so deep it had shaped everything that came after. She took a slow, shaking breath. "Help me sit," she murmured. Mary helped her back onto the mattress, placing a pillow behind her. Clara stared at the cracked ceiling for a long moment, gathering the strength to face ghosts. Her voice was barely more than air. "Marcus was the man I loved." Mary's heart fluttered. "Well, not new. Not worked for. Well." Clara closed her eyes. "A long time ago when life was different. When I was someone else. Before the world took everything from me." Mary didn't speak. She just listened, eyes wide and full. Clara continued, her voice trembling like a rainy memory. Flashback. Clara had been 19. She remembered the sky first, how blue it had been that summer. She remembered laughter, warmth, music. Her life had been full, small but full. She worked at a small cafe in town. Her hands always smelled of oranges and coffee. Her apron was always dusted with flour. She had dreams once, dreams of studying nursing, of traveling, of building something new. She didn't think love would find her there. But it did. Or he did. Marcus. The young man who came every afternoon, sitting by the window, always ordering the same thing, black tea and a slice of orange cake. The first time he smiled at her, something inside her chest fluttered awake. He was different, not in the obvious ways, though she noticed those too. The fine watch. The smooth shirts. The polished shoes. The subtle confidence of someone who never had to worry about tomorrow. But what drew her was his loneliness, quiet, hidden, but deep. Loneliness recognizes loneliness. They talked. They walked. They laughed in the warm dusk air. They dreamed at the same moon. They loved. Deeply. Hungrily. Fearlessly. But the world was not kind to love that crossed its lines. Marcus' family was wealthy, powerful, old. They believed everything in life must fit in the shape they drew. And Clara did not fit. "You are not good enough for him," Marcus' mother had said once, her voice smooth as cold metal. "You will disappear. Quietly. Or we will make sure you do." Marcus fought. Art. Clara remembered his voice hoarse from yelling, his fists shaking, his heart torn raw. "We will run away," he had promised her once. His forehead pressed to hers. His tears warm against her cheek. "We will build our own life. Far from them. Just wait for me. I will come for you. I swear." Clara had believed him with her whole heart. But he never came. Or so she thought. Days passed. Then weeks. Then months. No letters. No calls. No trace. Clara had waited until her hope broke. And when she found out she was pregnant, she did not cry. She simply packed, left her town, disappeared. She told no one. She believed Marcus had abandoned her. She raised Mary alone. She worked until her hands bled. Until her back ached. Until sickness took hold. She hid her pain from her daughter. She hid her past from herself. But at night, she whispered his name into her pillow. Marcus, 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 like a ghost that never left. Present. Clara opened her eyes again, pulled back into the small dim apartment that smelled faintly of dust and medicine. Mary sat beside her, motionless, her heart thundering. Tears streamed silently down the girl's cheeks. You loved him, she whispered. Clara nodded, her breath shivering. Yes, more than anything. And when he didn't come, her voice cracked. I thought he chose them over me. I thought he left us. Mary's lips trembled. But he didn't know, Mom. He said he didn't know. He said if he had known, nothing could have kept him away. Clara's eyes widened. A long silence hung, full of shock. He said that. Mary nodded. And Mom, he cried. He cried when he found out I don't have a father. Clara covered her mouth as her chest heaved. And then, she broke. She didn't cry like she had those quiet nights Mary used to hear. She sobbed, loud, raw, shaking, like a dam finally bursting after 10 years of holding back a flood. Mary wrapped her arms around her. Clara's tears soaked Mary's shoulder. Mary didn't let go. Not once. Minutes passed. Maybe hours. Time didn't matter. When Clara's sobs finally grew quiet, she leaned back and looked at her daughter. Mary, he wants to see me? Mary nodded. Yes, but he said only if you want. He said whatever makes you feel safe. Clara closed her eyes. Fear and hope warred inside her. To see Marcus again meant reopening the deepest wound of her life. But it also meant the chance to heal it. To learn the truth. To maybe not be alone anymore. Clara took a long, slow breath. Help me stand, she whispered. Mary's eyes widened. Mom, are you sure? Clara nodded. Yes. Mary helped her mother rise to her feet. Clara swayed, her legs unsteady, but she held onto Mary's shoulder. Get my shawl, Clara murmured. Mary grabbed the faded shawl from the wall. Clara draped it over her thin shoulders. Mary picked up the small piece of paper with Marcus' address and number, though they no longer needed the address. Clara walked slowly, carefully toward the door. Fear in her steps. Hope in her heart. Mary took her hand. And together, they stepped out of room 12. Out of the broken hallway. Out of the past. And toward the house that held everything lost. The mansion. The roses. The man who once promised the world. But life does not open its old wounds so simply. And love, especially love that survived 10 years of silence, never returns without a storm. This was only the beginning. The hallway smelled of damp plaster and old paint, but as Clara and Mary walked through it, it felt like a tunnel between two worlds, one ending, one waiting. Clara's hand was thin and cold in Mary's warm small one, yet her grip was steady with resolve. The woman who could barely sit up that morning was walking now, propelled not by strength, but by something deeper. Something that had been buried, frozen, starving, and now awakened. Love, fear, both. Mary stayed close to her mother's side as they descended the cracked stairs. Clara paused once, just once, when the coughing rose again, her shoulders shaking. Mary rubbed her back. Clara breathed through it, pressing her teeth together, forcing her lungs to obey, to carry her forward. Not now, her eyes said. Not when I've waited this long. The air outside was bright and hot, the sky a blinding blue like the summer Clara remembered from that other life, the one with laughter, hope, softness, and warm hands holding hers. The one she had spent 10 years trying to forget and 10 years failing to. They began walking. Mary clung to her mother's hand, though this time it wasn't guidance, it was protection. She knew somehow that what waited ahead would change everything. Not just the illness, not just the hunger. Everything. The street grew cleaner the farther they walked. The buildings grew taller and newer. The sidewalks smoother. The cars shinier. People here walked like they owned time itself. Everything here felt like the world her mother used to look at from a distance, as if separated by an invisible wall. Mary looked up at Clara. Her mother's eyes were fixed forward. Thoughtful. Haunted. Hopeful. Mom, Mary whispered. Clara's fingers squeezed hers with a small, trembling reassurance. "I'm all right," she said. But her voice told a different truth. They reached the gate. The same gate Mary had stood at only hours before, except now the moment felt heavier. As though the air itself remembered what had been spoken here, what had been revealed, what was cracking open. The speaker beside the gate crackled faintly, quiet, waiting. Clara didn't touch it. She simply stood there. Her eyes were far away, not looking at the house, not looking at Mary, but looking backward, into a memory so vivid it almost layered itself on top of the present world like a ghostly double image. Mary looked up at the mansion with awe she did not try to hide. But this time she was not just a little girl with oranges. This time she was a daughter walking her mother home. The gate, almost as if sensing them, buzzed and swung open. Clara went still. Mary blinked. They hadn't pressed anything. They hadn't spoken. They hadn't called. Oh. Then she saw him. Marcus stood in the doorway of the mansion, motionless. His eyes were fixed on Clara. Not surprised. Not shocked. As if he had been waiting for this exact moment. As if he had known she would come. As if he had been standing there for 10 years. Clara's breath shuddered out of her. The world did not move. Not the trees. Not the breeze. Not Mary. Only Clara. One step. Then another. Her feet moved on their own. Like a dream. Like gravity. Like fate itself carried her. Marcus took one slow step forward. Then another. Mary let go of her mother's hand. The two adults stood only a few feet apart now. The years between them hung in the air like thick fog. Every night Clara had cried. Every morning Marcus had woken reaching for someone who wasn't there. Every question. Every unanswered why. Every scar. Every hope. Every loss. Clara's lips parted first. Her voice came out barely audible. A whisper trembling on the edge of disbelief. Marcus. That single word carried every year, every wound, every love memory stitched into her bones. Marcus closed his eyes. It was his name. But in her voice, it sounded like forgiveness and ache and longing and fear all at once. When he opened his eyes again, they were already wet. Clara. Her name in his voice was not a whisper. It was a return. A homecoming. A prayer. For a long time, a long, aching, suspended time, they simply stood there breathing in the sight of each other. Then Marcus stepped forward, slowly, carefully, as though afraid she might vanish, and reached for her hands. Clara flinched. Not away, but with too much feeling. As his warm hands closed around hers, a tear slid down her cheek. He held her gently, reverently, like holding something breakable and irreplaceable. "I looked for you," Marcus said, voice low and shaking. "Clara, I swear to you, I looked everywhere. I never stopped. Not one day. I thought you left because you didn't want me anymore. I didn't know about her." His eyes flicked to Mary. "I didn't know I had." "My mother," Clara whispered, cutting him off. Her voice wavered. "She came to me. She told me you were getting married. That you chose someone else. That you didn't want a girl like me ruining your future." Marcus froze. The world froze with him. He didn't let go of Clara's hands, but his grip changed, tightening suddenly, sharply, as if he were holding on to the last thread of the world before it collapsed. "My mother," he said, voice hollowing. "She told me you left because you never wanted to see me again. That you didn't love me anymore. That you were." He swallowed hard. "Clara, she lied to us." Clara closed her eyes and the pain that had lived inside her for 10 years rose up, sharp and burning, filling her lungs, filling her vision, choking her. All those nights she spent thinking she wasn't enough. All those mornings she told herself to forget him. All those years she carried heartbreak alone. For nothing. For a lie. Tears spilled in quiet streaks down her cheeks, tears of grief, of fury, of relief. Marcus reached up and wiped one away with the edge of his thumb. Clara didn't pull away. Mary stood watching, her chest tight, her heart pounding as though witnessing something sacred. Something older than she was. Something that had shaped her life without her knowing. Marcus' voice dropped to a whisper. "Clara, we lost 10 years. Years we cannot get back. But..." He looked at Mary. His voice broke. "We don't have to lose any more." Clara followed his gaze. Mary stood small and brave and trembling, clutching her empty hands, unsure if she belonged in the moment unfolding before her. Clara reached her hand back for her daughter. Mary stepped forward immediately. Marcus looked down at Mary, really looked now, not as a memory, not as a question, not as a possibility, but as a child. A child he should have loved, should have held, should have known, should have raised. His voice cracked open completely. "Mary," he whispered, "if you are mine, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry you had to grow up without me. I would have been there. I would have fought for you both. I would have moved heaven and earth to keep you safe. He broke. He covered his eyes with one shaking hand, the other still holding Clara's. Mary stepped closer. She didn't fully understand everything, but she understood pain. She understood loneliness. She understood wanting a father. She reached out and touched Marcus' hand. Marcus moved his hand away from his face slowly, and when he looked at Mary, his tear-filled eyes were full, not of guilt alone, not just grief, but love. No, fragile and real. May I? He asked softly, voice trembling. May I hug you? Mary nodded. Just a small nod, but enough to begin the rebuilding of a life. Marcus knelt to her height and Mary stepped into his arms. He held her as though she were something precious that had been lost in a fire, something he had never expected to find again. Clara pressed a hand to her mouth as tears ran freely. It was silent, but it was the most beautiful silence the house had known in years. When Marcus finally rose, the three of them stood together in the doorway. Not a family yet, but the beginning of one. Come inside, Marcus said softly. Both of you. Clara hesitated. Not because she didn't want to, but because stepping through that door meant stepping into a new life. A life where the past might be rewritten. A life where wounds might heal, or reopen. Mary took her mother's hand. Marcus extended his. Clara's breath trembled. And then, she stepped forward. Into the house. Into her past. Into the future. Into everything. But love, once lost, does not return without consequence. And not everyone is ready to let the past stay buried. Far from the mansion, in a house of cold marble and perfect silence, another woman received a phone call. Her hand tightened around the receiver. Her eyes went sharp with alarm. Clara had been found. And the quiet peace of the mansion would not last. Not now. Not with old power waking. Not with old secrets rising. The inside of the mansion was warm, but Clara felt cold the moment she crossed the threshold. Memories did that, made places colder, heavier, more alive than they should be. The polished marble floors reflected the sunlight pouring in from the tall windows. The air smelled of lilies and polished wood, just as it had all those years ago. Mary's eyes widened as she took in the grand staircase that split into two elegant curves. She had never seen anything so big, so bright, so quiet. Clara remembered that silence too, how it had once felt luxurious, peaceful. Now it felt like a silence that waited and listened. Marcus walked slowly ahead of them, his steps careful, as though afraid the moment might shatter. He did not reach for Clara again, not from fear she would pull away, but from respect for the weight of everything unsaid. Sit, Marcus said gently, guiding them toward a wide living room with cream-colored sofas and sunlight-drenched floors. You must be tired. Clara opened her mouth to respond, but her breath hitched. The cough came again, harsh, racking, tearing through her chest. She turned away, covering her mouth, her whole body folding with the force of it. Marcus was beside her instantly. Clara. She shook her head sharply, not here, not now, not in front of him. I'm fine, she forced out between breaths. But Mary's face was pale, eyes wide with fear. Clara saw it and touched her daughter's cheek. I'm all right, baby. Just tired. Mary nodded, though worry still clung to her small features like shadow. Marcus watched her, really watched. And for the first time he noticed what he hadn't seen clearly outside. Clara was thinner. Too thin. Her skin pale in places, too hollow in others. Her breath shallow. Something was wrong. Something was very wrong. But he did not ask, not yet. There were wounds older than illness to address first. They sat. Marcus lowered himself across from them, hands clasped together, elbows resting on his knees. His voice was soft but steady. I need to know, he said. About the years. About her. He nodded gently toward Mary. But only if you are ready. Clara didn't look at him. She looked at her hands instead. Her fingers trembled. Not with weakness, but with memory. I left the night your mother came to me, she said quietly. She told me you had accepted the engagement. She showed me the ring. She told me I was a mistake, a distraction, something you would regret. Marcus flinched, a muscle in his jaw tightening. Clara continued, her voice small now. She told me if I loved you I had to disappear. So I did. Mary leaned into her mother, small but grounding. Marcus's voice was rough. Claire, I never agreed to that marriage. I fought it. I fought her. And when I realized you were gone. His breath stilled. He had searched. Clara could see it now in his eyes. The truth was not a question anymore, but a grief shared. She nodded slowly, a tear sliding down her cheek. When I found out I was pregnant, I wanted to tell you. I tried. Her voice cracked. But I had nowhere to go. No one to help me. And pride? Pride is a dangerous thing when you are young and alone. Silence fell again, thick, heavy but not empty. Mary's small voice broke it. Mom tried her best, she whispered. We didn't have much. But she always made sure I ate first. Even when she didn't. Marcus's heart clenched so hard it hurt. Clara's eyes closed. Mary didn't realize the weight of the words she had spoken, but Marcus did. He inhaled slowly, painfully. Then he stood. Come with me. He led them down a hallway, long, wide, full of framed portraits and echoes of another life. At the end of the hallway was a door. A simple white door. Clara's breath caught. She knew this door. Her hand rose, fingers trembling, reaching unconsciously. Marcus opened it. Inside was a room washed in soft sunlight. Walls painted the pale color of dawn. A small wooden cradle. Books stacked neatly on shelves. Tiny shoes that had never been worn. A mobile that still hung from the ceiling, moons and stars frozen in gentle orbit. It was untouched. Preserved. As though time had waited. As though 10 years had not passed. Clara's knees weakened. Mary's eyes widened in wonder. Is this? Marcus swallowed hard. I built this room the day you told me you were late. Before you disappeared. Clara let out a sound, something between a sob and a gasp. She pressed her hand to her mouth. Marcus continued, voice breaking. I didn't know if it was a boy or a girl. I didn't know if you were safe. Or alive. But I couldn't. His voice fractured. I couldn't let go. So I left it. Every day. For 10 years. Waiting. Mary walked forward slowly, touching the tiny wooden cradle. Her small fingers traced its smooth curve. Her voice came out a whisper softer than breath. Was it for me? Marcus's answer was a whisper shaped by a decade of waiting. Yes. Mary stepped toward him without hesitation. She wrapped her arms around his waist. This time Marcus didn't kneel. He simply held her. As if he had been waiting 10 years for that one small embrace. Clara turned away, tears falling silently onto her hands. Marcus's voice was barely audible. There's one more thing, he said. Clara wiped her cheeks and turned. Marcus didn't look at her when he spoke. My mother is coming back tomorrow. The room seemed to tilt. Clara froze. Mary's hand tightened around Marcus' shirt. The peace of this house, the delicate, newborn thread of family, shivered. Cracked. But did not break. Not yet. Because love, once returned, grows teeth. And this time, Clara would not run. Not again. Not for anyone. Not even the woman who had stolen 10 years from her life. She lifted her chin. Her voice steadied. Let her come. Marcus looked at her. Really looked. For the first time, not as the girl he loved. But as the woman she had become. Stronger than her scars. Braver than her fear. Unbroken. And this time, he was not going to lose her. Not to pride. Not to lies. Not to anyone. Not again. Evening settled over the mansion like a soft blanket, but the air inside felt taut, pulled tight as though preparing for a storm. The house staff moved quietly, speaking in low voices, sensing something unusual and important. Clara sat at the window of a guest bedroom, though Marcus had called it her room, hands wrapped around a cup of warm tea she had barely sipped. Outside, the garden lights flickered across the lawn, long shadows stretching like fingers. Mary slept curled on the bed, her small chest rising and falling with gentle breaths. Exhausted from emotion, from walking, from a day that had rearranged the axis of her entire life. Clara looked at her daughter with a kind of soft ache. Love, fierce and deep and protective. She brushed a strand of hair from Mary's face, then turned back to the window. She remembered this house. She remembered walking through it barefoot, laughing, being held, being loved. She remembered being so full of dreams that her chest felt too small to contain them. And she remembered having those dreams stolen, ripped away in a single night. Tomorrow the person responsible for that theft would walk through the same door. Marcus's mother. Lady Evelyn Hart. A woman who had never raised her voice, but whose words could cut deeper than any blade. A woman who smiled with her lips but never her eyes. A woman who had built her world out of perfection, and destroyed anything that threatened that world. Clara pressed her hand lightly against her chest. Her heart was beating too fast. Her breath was shallow. Not just for the confrontation, but for the truth she was hiding. The illness was worsening. She could feel it. The coughing was sharper now, leaving a metallic taste. Her lungs felt small as though shrinking. There were nights she woke up unable to breathe, waiting, praying for air to return. She had hoped she could hide it. But Marcus had always seen her too clearly. There was no hiding from him. Not anymore. Downstairs, Marcus stood in his study, staring at a photograph. A worn one, edges creased from years of being handled. It was of him and Clara when they were young. His arm around her. Her head leaning against his shoulder. Both laughing, the kind of laugh that came from being alive together and nowhere else. He had carried that photograph through every year she was gone. Every city he searched. Every dead-end lead. Every night he wondered if she hated him. Every morning he hoped she didn't. He set the photo back down carefully. Not like an object, but like something sacred. There was a soft knock at the door. "Come in." Clara stepped inside. She still moved quietly, but she was not the same girl from the photograph. She was stronger now. Worn, yes. Tired, yes. But forged, not broken. Marcus looked up. Their eyes met. Silence, not empty but full, settled between them. Clara's voice was quiet. "I wanted to say, thank you. For the room. For Mary. For this." Marcus shook his head. "You don't need to thank me. You never did." She looked away. He stepped closer. Closer still. But not touching. Respecting the space between present and past. "You're afraid," he said softly. Clara didn't deny it. "Your mother is powerful," she said. "And I don't mean wealth or influence. She knows how to speak to your heart. She knows how to make you doubt yourself. She knows where to press. Where to wound." Marcus nodded slowly. "She used that power to separate us once," Clara whispered. "And she will try again." Marcus's jaw tightened. This time there was steel in his voice. "She will fail." Clara looked at him then, not with memory but with the present moment. With truth. "Marcus." She stepped closer, voice trembling. "There is something I need to tell you." His eyes softened. "What is it?" Clara swallowed. Her throat tightened. Her lungs ticked sharply inside her chest. I don't know how much time I have," she whispered. "I've been sick. For a while. And it's getting worse." Marcus froze. For a moment the world stopped breathing. Then, "No." The word cracked open like stone breaking. "No, Clara. No. Don't say it like it's already decided." Tears filled Clara's eyes, spilling silently. "I didn't want you to find out like this," she whispered. "I didn't want Mary to lose you. I didn't want to return just to leave again." Marcus stepped forward and cupped her face in both hands. His voice was fierce. "Clara, listen to me. We just found you. We just got you back. I'm not letting you go again. Not to illness. Not to fate. Not to anything." Clara's breath shook, tears falling freely now. "You can't promise that," she said. Marcus leaned his forehead to hers. His voice was a vow. "Yes, I can. And I will. I will find the best doctors. The best treatment. I don't care what it costs. I don't care where we have to go. Clara, you are not dying. Not now. Not like this." Clara closed her eyes. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to live. She wanted more time with Mary. With him. She nodded once, small, fragile, but real. Marcus pulled her into an embrace. Slowly. Carefully. As though holding a miracle. Clara let herself rest there. Just for a moment. Just to remember how it felt. To be held. To be safe. To be loved. Morning crept toward the horizon. And with it, a car rolled up the mansion driveway. Black. Polished. Cold. Mary slept peacefully upstairs. Clara and Marcus stood side by side at the top of the staircase. The front doors opened. Lady Evelyn Hart stepped inside. Tall. Elegant. Composed. A woman carved from winter. Her eyes lifted. Saw Clara. Saw Mary's small shoe lying near the couch. Saw her son. Her face did not change. But the temperature of the house dropped. Like the first breath before a storm. Clara did not look away. Neither did Evelyn. Marcus's voice was steady. "Mother. We need to talk." Evelyn smiled. "Sure. Controlled. Dangerous." "Yes," she said quietly. "I believe we do." The morning light slanted through the high windows, catching dust motes in the still air. The house was silent, not peaceful but tense. Like a bowstring drawn back, waiting to release. Lady Evelyn stood in the foyer as if she belonged to the marble, the light, the wealth, every inch of this house shaped to her presence. She removed her gloves slowly, deliberately, her expression calm. Too calm. Clara stood one step above her on the staircase, Mary's soft breathing faint from the room down the hall. Marcus stood between them, not shielding, not choosing, simply there as if his presence alone could hold the world in place. Clara, Evelyn said finally, letting the name rest on her tongue in a way that turned it into a blade. It has been a long time. Clara met her eyes without flinching. Yes, it has. Evelyn's gaze swept her, head to toe, quiet, evaluating, dissecting. You are thinner, she observed. Life hasn't been kind to you. Marcus's jaw tightened. Clara's voice was soft, but her spine straightened. Yes, but I endured it. A flicker, just a flicker, passed behind Evelyn's eyes. Annoyance. Or perhaps recognition. Evelyn clasped her gloves in one hand. We'll speak privately. Marcus stepped forward. No. We speak together. Evelyn turned to him. Marcus, I am still your mother. And I am still the man whose life you interfered in, he replied, his voice steady. Evelyn's gaze hardened, not shocked, not wounded, but calculating. So it is to be open then, she said. Yes, Clara said. No more lies. Silence stretched, cold, brittle. Then Evelyn walked toward the sitting room, graceful and controlled. She sat down on the sofa as though the world arranged itself around her presence. Marcus and Clara followed. Clara sat. Not beside Marcus, not beside Evelyn, but in her own chair. Her own space. Evelyn folded her hands neatly. Before we speak of anything else, she said, I would like to see the child. Marcus stiffened. Clara inhaled slowly. Not fear. Strength. She is sleeping, Clara said. And she will not be presented like something to be examined. Evelyn's lips curved, not quite a smile. So you are her mother. Clara's eyes held hers. Yes. And Marcus is the father, Evelyn said, though she already knew. Yes, Marcus answered. Evelyn exhaled, slowly. Not a sigh. A calculation rebalancing itself. So, the rumors were true. Marcus's hands curled into fists. You lied to both of us, he said. You told Clara I abandoned her. You told me she left willingly. You destroyed our lives. Evelyn blinked once. Composed. I protected our family's future. Clara's voice sharpened. You stole time. You stole love. You stole a father from a child. Evelyn turned her head slightly, considering Clara now not as a mistake, but as a threat. You think, Evelyn said softly, that I did what I did out of cruelty. Clara said nothing. Marcus waited. Evelyn leaned back, her eyes glinting like frost under sunlight. Clara, you were a girl with nothing. No family name. No influence. No stability. My son was heir to everything my husband and I built. You were a risk. Clara did not look away. And now? Clara asked quietly. Evelyn's gaze flicked upstairs, toward the direction Mary slept. Now I see the consequences. Not apology. Not remorse. But acknowledgement. Marcus stepped forward. This is our family. And I will not allow you to interfere again. Evelyn lifted her gaze slowly to her son, studying him. You've changed. Yes, he said. I have. Evelyn rose from her seat. Her posture perfect. Her eyes clear. Her voice the calm before lightning strikes. Then listen carefully. Both of you. The room stilled. Clara's breath held. Marcus stood unflinching. Evelyn spoke. You have a child together. That child carries the heart name whether you speak it aloud or not. The world will discover her existence sooner or later. And when it does, every eye, every whisper, every ambition will turn toward her. Her voice was not threatening. It was simply true. No matter what you believe, Evelyn continued, there is power in blood. And power attracts both blessing and danger. Clara understood. This was not about wealth. This was about survival. What are you saying? Marcus asked. Evelyn looked directly at Clara. I'm saying the world is cruel. Crueler than the life you have known. And if you intend to stay here, to raise that child in this house, to give her a place in this family, her voice dropped lower, then you must be prepared to fight. The silence that followed was heavy, but different than before. Not fear. Not tension. Recognition. Clara nodded slowly. I have been fighting my whole life. Evelyn studied her for a long moment, looking not at clothing, not at posture, but at the fire behind Clara's eyes. Finally she spoke. Then perhaps, Evelyn said quietly, you may have been the correct choice after all. Marcus stared at his mother as if seeing her for the first time. Clara did not breathe. Evelyn turned away, her elegance unbroken, her voice composed. I will return tomorrow. We have much to discuss. And much to repair. She walked toward the door, paused, and without turning back, said softly, "Clara, take care of your health." Clara froze. The acknowledgement was subtle, but it was real. Then the door closed, and she was gone. Marcus turned to Clara. Clara exhaled, slow, shaking. Her illness pressed sharp behind her ribs. Marcus stepped forward, hands steady. "We will face her," he murmured. "Together," Clara finished, their fingers intertwined, no longer reaching across absence, but holding across promise. Upstairs, Mary stirred in her sleep, unaware of the battles already being fought for her future. And for the first time in many years, the house did not feel cold. It felt awake, alive, waiting.